Yo, Evan, bro, what's good, man? Hey, shout out to you. Shout out to Evan Falarka before I even start this video, man, for even acknowledging my video, my reaction videos and everything. But, I see that your video is 18 minutes long, bro. You know what I'm saying? Keep on dropping that knowledge, though. I appreciate it. But for me to react to this, I don't know. I don't know if I can react to it for 18 minutes long. I want to react to it for real for 18 minutes long. I'm just joking around. Follow me on Twitter, Joseph_Witty. Instagram, Joseph_Witty. Definitely share this video to Evan Falarka on Twitter. Tag him in the video and all that, bro. Do what y'all gotta do. Let's get straight to it, though. Hey, I'ma sit here for 20 minutes. I don't care if I'm looking. I don't care if I'm just sitting here not talking. I want to hear everything he got to say because everybody has been saying this is the best. He gives the best Spider-Man PS4 news. So we gonna see, bro. You know, he drops stuff quickly before everybody. So let's get straight into it, bro. I watched a couple of videos before.
Spectacular Spidey fans to another jam-packed episode of Spider-Man PS4 101. So as you've probably already guessed, this is going to be another video going over lots of recent tweets from Brian Intihar discussing lots of new information about Marvel Spider-Man. And just like last time, Brian went in depth when answering lots of fans' questions that they had about the game. Now, even though Brian answered lots of fans' questions that they had about the game, some of the answers that Brian provided were either really intriguing or a bit disappointing. However, I'll let you be the judge on how you decide to view Brian's answers to all these fans' questions, but I'll discuss my thoughts about each and every one of these tweets. And starting off with the very first tweet coming from fellow user Clace Jensen, who says to Brian, "Hey at Brian Intihar, I have been wondering about this since the Iron Spider suit reveal, but is Peter's phone available/usable in free roam, or is it only something for cutscenes?" I
hope it is
And
usable.
Brian responded that the phone will only be used during cutscenes of the main game. So this was in fact a question that certain Spidey fans were curious about, is that could Peter use his phone as a gameplay mechanic within Marvel Spider-Man? Possibly being able to do things like listen to in-game music while swinging around the city, or even check certain posts from Peter on his phone. And even though we have seen some really cool shots of Spider-Man using his phone in the game, it will apparently only be used during specific cutscenes of the game's narrative. So even though that's not too big of a detail, it's still something really interesting to know about. Now this next question is actually really interesting, and it comes from fellow user Masta Phelan, who asked Brian at Brian Intihar, "In Spider-Man, can I change my suit during a mission?" And surprisingly enough, Brian actually responds with,
"Yes."
So in previous Spider-Man games, you were able to equip a suit before starting a mission of the game, but it's really cool to know that actually while you are playing missions, you can switch your suits whenever you feel like it. So for example, if you're actually playing the Raft mission in the game, you can switch between the Iron Spider suit or the Spider-Punk suit or whatever suit you choose whenever you feel like during that mission. And I think that's a really cool feature that Insomniac decided to put in this game. So this next question comes from fellow user Ryan Purry, and it actually discusses about a certain gameplay feature that will always be on during the game.
White edge.
So Ryan asked Brian at Brian Intihar, in Spider-Man PS4, when locking onto enemies, will they always glow with white edges, or is it possible to turn this feature off so it plays more cinematic? And Brian replied to Ryan by saying it will always be on. So I feel the same way as Ryan does when it comes to this specific gameplay feature.
It makes sense. I like that because it's focused on them, you know what I'm saying?
There will always be a white outline surrounding them, indicating that that is the specific enemy that you were focusing on. And even though it was a bit distracting at first, I did get used to it the more that I got to play the demo at E3. But still, let me know what all you Spidey fans think about this specific feature always being turned on in the full game. Now moving on to another interesting question about the game is specifically relating to the collectibles that you can find in the city. And this comes from fellow user Foggy Nelson, who asked Brian, when you get a backpack, you said Peter talks about stuff that's happened in the past 8 years. Does that mean he could reference villains that may have not made it to the game? And if he does, will we see your version of how they look? And Brian replies to Foggy's question by saying he talks about the items. All of your other questions will be answered on September 2nd. So not only is it cool to discuss about each and every backpack that he finds throughout the city, but it's also really interesting that some of them could include details about villains that he's fought in the past. And seeing how there's already really cool collectibles in the backpacks throughout the demo, like Peter's first ever web shooter or his wrestling poster, I'm really excited to see what the other collectibles are going to be. And speaking of collectibles, we have another awesome question from Spidey Squad co-founder Vigilante Vigilante
Shout out to
Spider, who
Spidey
asked similarly
Squad.
about the collectibles in the game by asking Brian, since there's no way to replay missions, are the collectibles in missions or just open world? And Brian responded to Vigilante Spider by saying that the collectibles will only be in the open world. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I find this as a huge sigh of relief. Granted, it was interesting in past Spider-Man games to find a specific collectible hidden during a level of the game, but I think it's better if all the collectibles will be found throughout the open world to really truly have you explore the entirety of New York City. And if there wasn't already enough stuff to do in the open world, this is going to add a whole new level of depth to the wide scope of this New York City that you can fully explore and find lots of hidden collectibles in. And I don't know about you, but I'm really excited to find each and every one of these collectibles scattered throughout New York City. Now, following up,
I saw the map. That shit's huge.
Is actually a question that discusses about the City That Never Sleeps DLC pack of the game. And even though we already assumed that this was going to be the case, it's nice to know for sure that Brian confirmed a specific detail about the DLC pack. So fellow user Safir Masai asked Brian, does the post-launch DLC take place after or before the main story of hashtag Spider-Man PS4? And Brian replies to him by saying that the DLC pack will take place after the main narrative of the game. So like I said, we were already expecting the DLC pack to take place after the narrative of Spider-Man PS4, but it's nice to have full confirmation that this is the case. And since each part of the DLC pack includes new suits for Spider-Man to wear and new villains for him to fight, I'm really curious to see what the other two parts of the DLC are going to be, since the first one includes Black Cat. And even though the main DLC will launch sometime after Spider-Man releases on September 7th, I'm still really excited to see how the DLC will play out. So moving on from all of Brian's detailed responses that he gave to fans on Twitter, we are once again moving into the hell no section of answers to other questions.
Did he just say the hell no section?
Like last time, more fans decided to ask questions about the game to Brian, but in all these specific questions, Brian simply responded with no to all of them. And once again, even though Brian responded with no, this could either be a good thing relating to the question that was asked, or something that's a bit disappointing. Still, it all depends on how you personally view it. And the first one
watch the whole thing.
User Alex Fenlon, who asked Brian, will there be post content that allows us to enter the Avengers Tower?
Hell no.
Now, in all honesty, I was already expecting this to happen. There have been Spider-Man games in the past that included other references to Marvel characters like in Ultimate Spider-Man or Web of Shadows that had buildings that related to the main Marvel heroes like Doctor Strange or even the Fantastic Four. And in those games, you still couldn't even enter those buildings if you wanted to. And within
on
Spider-Man
Twitter
PS4,
and everything,
it's going to be the exact same situation.
Share this video to him.
Look at the buildings like the Avengers Tower, Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum, the Wakandan Embassy, Daredevil's Law Firm, and
go
more,
subscribe to him right now
to enter them. So even though that may be a bit disappointing to some of you, at least we can see them in the full game, which I'm still really happy about. Although this next question that Brian answered no to may be a bit heartbreaking for some of you hardcore Marvel fans. And this question comes from fellow user Pedro, who asked Brian, will we see the Avengers or any type of other heroes in Spider-Man PS4?
I don't think so.
No.
Now, in all reality, I'm actually really shocked by this, but also really relieved at the same time. I'm mainly shocked that Brian flat out was able to say that there will not be any heroes shown off in Spider-Man PS4, but I'm actually really relieved that this is going to fully be a Spider-Man story. Now, we have seen in previous Spider-Man games Spidey interact with lots of other Marvel heroes during some point in the story that actually may have helped him during a part of the game. And even though that would have been cool to see what Insomniac's version of Iron Man looks like or what Black Panther looks like, I'm actually happy that they're still primarily focusing on Spider-Man in this game. So even though it would have been cool to have a mission where you can go and team up with Daredevil, I'm still really happy that they are including lots of references to their existence in this universe. And speaking of other Marvel characters that will not be in Spider-Man PS4, from two users, Blaze and Chris, asking specifically about two characters' existence within the world of Marvel Spider-Man. So Blaze Bob asked Brian, is it possible to see Silk/Cindy Moon in the game?
No.
And relating to Blaze's question comes from Chris by asking Brian, hey, at Brian Intar,
will we see
Flash Thompson in Spider-Man PS4?
No.
So even though it would have been cool to see a character like Flash Thompson in Spider-Man PS4, I'm actually really happy that Silk is not going to be in the game. I would have liked to see this version of Flash Thompson and see how Peter and Flash's history has been in the past years, but I'm really happy that other Spider people will most likely not be in the game. Since Silk is a character within the Spider-Verse side of the comics, that was a question that people were wondering if we were going to get other Spider people showing up in this game. And since Brian debunked the appearance of Silk within Spider-Man PS4, PS4, I can almost guarantee you that that also means that we will not see characters like Spider-Gwen and hopefully Miles Morales not turning into Spider-Man. I know some fans out there really hope that Miles at some point in the story gets bitten by a spider, but for me personally, I really hope that that doesn't happen. As we already know, this is going to be a story showing the duality between Peter Parker and Spider-Man, and for me personally, if they somehow involve Miles Morales getting bitten by a spider, I think that would just ruin the whole point of the narrative. Still, we'll just have to wait and see until September 7th.
We gotta wait, man. We might get a DLC with Miles,
now, moving on to the last of the characters that will not be in Spider-Man PS4 relates to all of the Fox characters from the movies. And this comes from fellow user AwesomeHeadC, who asked Brian, "Hey, at Brian Intar, will there be any Fox characters in Spider-Man PS4 like the X-Men or Deadpool or Fantastic Four?"
No. Not even close.
So like we knew already, the X-Men and the Fantastic Four will not be featured in any way within Spider-Man PS4, but now we know 100% for sure that all of the Fox-related characters won't make an appearance in the game at all. And I know it might be a bit upsetting for you fans out there who love all those characters, but since this is in fact a Sony exclusive, they're only relating to characters within the mainstream Marvel Universe instead of the Fox-related characters. So even though it would have been awesome to see Spider-Man team up with Deadpool in Spider-Man PS4, don't expect them to appear in the game at all. Now moving along to a more gameplay-centric question from fellow user The Rob Called Zeus, who asked Insomniac Games and Brian Nattar love the whole citizen interaction idea. I know it's a bit extra, but I was wondering if the people of New York might respond differently to some of Spidey's suits, expressing caution for the scary ones or treating the homemade like random cosplay, etc. And Brian fully responded with, "Cool idea, but that doesn't happen."
Man, so come on, Brian, man. Y'all gotta put that in the game.
Power tailored to it, along with its own unique look, citizens will not react differently to how Spidey appears in the game.
Come on,
and even
maybe
though that
next
would have
game.
been a cool feature to see, I'm already loving the amount of depth and detail that Insomniac are putting with the multitude of suits in the full game. Still, let me know what all you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Now moving on to a question that I'm super thrilled that was debunked by Brian Intar comes from fellow user Taylor D, who asked Brian, in Spider-Man PS4, will there be a bar saying you're a hero or a vigilante like in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 game?
Hell no.
Now after seeing all the gameplay footage from E3, we were already expecting this feature to not make an appearance within Spider-Man PS4 since it was not received well in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, but I'm super happy that it's confirmed to not be in the game. This was a feature that actually punished players by doing nothing in the city if they just wanted to swing around for fun, but I'm really happy that Insomniac decided to not put a feature like this in Spider-Man PS4. And I think it's 100% safe to say that that feature will not be missed within Marvel's Spider-Man. Now,
bro, that shit was so garbage, bro.
I was wondering myself if it would be included within Spider-Man PS4, but as usual, Brian debunked its existence within the game.
Just looking at this shit is
Justin
annoying.
Lewin asked Brian, will you have the ability to have different choices during dialogue, and is there different dialogue endings at all or rewards for harder difficulty? And I'm a big fan of you and your other games, glad you're working on this. And after all of Justin's compliments, Brian responded to him by saying that there will not be any dialogue choices.
He didn't even say thank you.
PS4. So this feature has been in a couple of Spider-Man games, specifically within Web of Shadows and most recently The Amazing Spider-Man 2. It would have added a bit more interactivity within the conversations that you will have to people as Peter Parker and Mary Jane, but still, I'm really excited to see how the story will play out regardless. So even though dialogue trees would have made the game's story a bit more interactive, I think it will be fine without them. Now moving on to another gameplay feature that will not be in Spider-Man PS4 is from fellow user Henrik, who asked Brian, hey Brian, in the game, are we going to be able to play with Mary Jane outside of the main story, like in side quests or something?
Hell no.
So like we did know already, within the game, you do have the ability to play as Peter Parker and Mary Jane within specific missions of the game. And just like Insomniac confirmed in the past, there will not be any open world Peter Parker gameplay within Spider-Man PS4, and this is the same exact situation for Mary Jane. During the game, we'll only be able to play as Peter and MJ during specific parts of the game's story, and I think that's already good enough. Even though I personally would have liked to see how free roaming in the city as Peter Parker and Mary Jane would have looked like, I still think it's good that we're getting them in the story regardless, and I can't wait to see how their gameplay is going to look like. Now moving on to another gameplay feature that is not going to be within Spider-Man PS4 relates to two characters that you cannot play as. So fellow user Jacob Helton asked Brian at Brian Inhar, since we will be able to play as MJ in certain quests, will we be able to play any quest with Aunt May and or Harry Osborn?
Harry's out of the country.
So believe it or not, that was a specific question that
like
certain
a 2-week
Spidey
span,
fans
right,
were
in the
wondering,
game?
is that since we're able to play as Peter and MJ in Spider-Man PS4, PS4, are we able to play as characters like Miles Morales, Aunt May, Harry Osborn, and etc. And
Miles will be so clutch, but in a DLC,
whether or not we'll be able to play as
like
Miles in the full game, it's now
game.
confirmed that we will not be playing as Aunt May or Harry Osborn. But even though we won't be able to play as them, at least we can hopefully do some side quests with them. Since we already have the side quests in the city relating to Harry Osborn's Oscorp research stations, hopefully there will be a Spider-Man side quest relating to Aunt May, because I think that sounds pretty interesting. Still, we'll just wait and see as to what the full game has to offer. Now moving on to another gameplay mechanic that some of you may be a bit upset about, even though it is a small one, it is a bit upsetting to me. So this comes from fellow user Jair, who asked Brian, will you be able to stick to the side of poles, like in the picture here?
Hell no.
So once again, this was an awesome gameplay mechanic that was featured within Web of Shadows, where you could stick to either the top or the side of a pole in the city. You can either use the pole-to-pole swing, or you can actually stick there for as long as you wanted to. And even though you are able to perch on top of a pole whenever you feel like it, and swing off a pole to gain more momentum when web zipping, you are not able to stick on the side of lampposts. So even though this isn't something too major that's not in the game, I still would have personally liked to see that within Spider-Man PS4, and I do find it a bit upsetting that it's not in the full game. Still, with all the other awesome stuff that you can do when free roaming, I think Insomniac has more than made up for that. And moving on to a feature that the game will not offer is actually relating to VR. And this question comes from fellow user Vincent Cesale, who asked Brian, will we ever be seeing a VR mission in Spider-Man?
Hell no.
Now once again, I am really happy that Brian actually responded no.
I saw this, the Homecoming
shit. For me personally,
shit,
I would be totally motion sick if there were to be a VR aspect attached to Spider-Man PS4, and I'm really happy that it's not going to be in the game. I do see why the appeal of this aspect is really big for certain fans, because they would want to feel like that they are Spider-Man swinging through the city. But for me personally, I want to have it fully third person to see Spider-Man pulling off all these cool tricks when swinging around town. So even though this may be a bit upsetting for some of you VR fans out there, I'm still fully relieved that it's not going to be in the game. Now as we draw closer to the end of the Hell No list of answers that Brian provided to fans is actually a question relating to the alternate suits of the game and which suits will not be in the game. So this really interesting request comes from fellow user Leonardo Silva, who asked Brian, I'm asking to put the Spider-Man in the format of the PS1 game as if the game were PS4 but the Spider-Man was PS1, like the lore of the Tomb Raider 1996 in the Rise of the Tomb Raider of 2016. Understood?
Hell no.
So if you don't know what Leonardo is talking about, basically within the Arkham games you were able to wear an animated skin for Batman and the other playable characters in the game. And even though the Arkham games had lots of awesome suits ranging from the movie costumes and lots of awesome comic book costumes, it was hilarious to see an animated Batman on screen. And specifically relating to the Spidey side of this question is that people were wondering if the PS1 2000 Spider-Man game costume or even the Spectacular Spider-Man costume were going to be in the game. But as you saw, Brian said that there will not be suits like that within Marvel Spider-Man. And even though I would have loved to see what my favorite animated suit would look like in Spider-Man PS4,
for some odd reason, I didn't like. I mean, I kind of like that
series. I do believe that we will be satisfied with the amount of suits that are going to be in the full game. And finally, moving to the last question of the Hell No list of answers that Brian gave to fans is another question relating to the suits. And this comes from fellow user Soviet Boy by asking Brian, will there be female Spider-Man suits such as Spider-Gwen and Spider-Woman?
Hell no.
Now I do see why some people want
I didn't mean to say that, but
be in Spider-Man PS4.
They're not going to do that.
Again, the game is called Marvel Spider-Man and not Marvel Spider-Woman. So even though I do know some people were wanting to have the ability to swing around looking like Spider-Gwen, Spider-Woman, or any other female Spidey that you can think of, but all the alternate costumes in the game will be male. So even though I do know some of you are a bit upset about this, I still think the amount of suits that will be in the full game will definitely satisfy us. But anyways, guys, that was all the crazy news that has happened recently from Brian Intihar on Twitter. Thank you all so much for watching, and let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below about all of Brian's responses. Out of all the details that Brian provided, what was your most favorite and what was your least favorite? For me personally, I'm really excited to see how much detail Insomniac is putting within something as small as the collectibles in the game, but I still am a bit upset that you can't fully stick to the side of poles as a traversal mechanic. But given all the other amazing details that Brian provided to us, I'm still really excited with what the full product is going to be. But anyways, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Stay spectacular, Spidey fans. Peace out.
Salute to Evan Falarka, bro. Seriously, bro. I really appreciate you and your videos, man. I watched a couple of your videos before even, before even reacting to it. You know what I'm saying? But definitely get in the comment box and tell me what y'all think about this video. Tell me what y'all think about all the info that's dropping for Spider-Man PS4. I'm dropping a Dragon Ball Super reaction video today, so for the movie and everything. Broly's supposed to be revealed in the movie or something like that. So I'm dropping that today as well after I get off of work. But I'm still gonna be wearing this, of course, because I recorded it already. So definitely stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed this video, bro, like this junk, subscribe to the channel. Want more reaction videos, want more live streams in the future, because I do live streams. I'm a gamer, but I'll be reacting to videos too, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, just like this video, subscribe to this video, and hit the notification bell after you subscribe to the video, you know what I'm saying? It's your boy Joseph Witty. I'm out of here.
About it, but my inspiration came from a different point of view here.
Okay.
And it's coming from a fan from Arkham that was disappointed by Arkham.
This is not Arkham.
What it was, but this is a different case here. For Arkham Knight, we were expecting a perfect game to end a trilogy of 2 perfect games.